Okay, so this first one says, given 1 and 2 are congruent, 3 and 4 are congruent, prove that those triangles are congruent. So they're telling us that 1 and 2 are congruent. So I'm going to write these in. So that's how I write that in. And 3 and 4 are congruent. So I'll put 2 tick marks for those. Okay. Now you've learned about all these properties up here, right? Side, 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 angle, side, angle, and angle, side. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that what I'm confused on with these problems is, so you know how like the first two, like you give the given, you like write down the given and then
Mm.
you say that. Then I'm confused on like what they're called, like reflective, and then I'm confused on how to get like ASA or SA.
Okay. All right. So, well, first of all, what I like to do is to kind of come up with a plan. So I look at my triangle and I see, okay, well, I've got an angle and an angle. So I need a side, right? I have 2 angles. So I'm either going to use this one here, ASA, or AAS.
Okay.
So I have to find one of the sides. So which side am I going to use? Which side? Can you see which side you're going to use if you have an angle and another angle? Am I going to use this side down here? Or I'm going to use maybe this side with this side? Or maybe this side with this side? What am I going to use? Can you tell?
Um, the middle line?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yep. That we're going to use that because can you see how that line is in both triangles?
Yeah.
It's in this triangle and it's also in this triangle.
Right.
So that's the line I'm going to use. And therefore, which of these am I going to use, ASA or AAS?
AAS?
So here's how you do this. So that was one of your questions. Here's how you know what it is. Start with one of your things that you're given. So and start far away. Like you want them to be, you're basically naming things without skipping sides or angles. So if I start with this angle and I go this way, I would have an angle and then I would have a side and then I would have an angle.
Oh, okay.
That's how you name it. You can't jump. You can't go this way. You can't say angle, side, because then you would have skipped a side and angle and another side if you went this way. You have to go. You have to go in the direction of what you have.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If they told us that this side over here was equal to this side over here, if they gave us that information, which they're not giving us, but if they gave us that this side is equal to this side, then you would call it side, angle, or angle, side. Angle, side. You would go angle, side.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You wouldn't go this way because you would be skipping a side and an angle to get to over here. So that's where it would be angle, side. If they gave you this side and this side were equivalent or congruent, but they aren't. They're only telling us that these angles are congruent, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we have to find another line. Oh, hey, there's a line. And that's called the reflexive property because it's the same line in both triangles. That's called the reflexive property.
Okay.
So now let's write it out. So are we doing paragraph proofs? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, so then statement and reason.
Okay, so we're going to write angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Now watch what I'm doing here. This is given. So here's 1 and this is given.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to put this other one in yet because I know it's angle, side, angle. So given, and I'm going to write A next to it. Does your teacher have you do that?
No.
Okay. It's not a bad thing to do
Okay.
because then it helps you see that you have angle, side, angle. Now I'm going to write that BD is equal to BD. BD is congruent to BD. And what's the reason for that?
The reflective.
Reflexive, it's called. The reflexive property, or you can just say reflexive. So that's a side, right? And the third thing is that angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. And how do I know that? You see how that was also given up here?
Oh yeah, so it would be given.
So you don't have to say given. You don't have to say all you're given at the front if you don't want to. You can save some of it and say in a different order, because now I can see, oh, angle, side, angle. Without skipping any sides and angles, I've got an angle, side, angle. And therefore,
a lot more sense.
Does that make sense how I'm doing that? So now I'm going to say that angle ABD is congruent to angle CDB. And the reason is side, angle, side.
That makes a lot more sense, honestly.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to think of it that way.
Yeah.
Not all teachers do that or required to do it, but it's kind of helpful for you to kind of break it down and do it in that way.
Yeah.
So the next question, let's try this one. So what are they given? So again, I'm going to write what I'm given. RS, so this side is congruent to KL. Okay. So I'm put 1 tick mark on that. ST, I'll put 2 tick marks on ST and 2 tick marks on JK. And then RT, I'll put 3 tick marks, is congruent to LJ. 1, 2, 3. And now they want us to prove that RST is congruent to JKL.
Okay.
So which one of these proof things am I going to use up here?
Would you use
So what did they give us? Let's write our things in here. What is this, a side or an angle?
Oh, it's a side.
And how about this next one?
A side.
How about the last one?
Side.
Yeah. So which of those 3 do I have? Or which of those 4 properties do I have?
The SSS one.
Yeah, I got side, side, side. Do I even need an angle?
No.
I don't need an angle, because side, side, side is one of the triangle proof, triangle congruence properties or postulates or whatever they call it.
Okay.
So all I really have to do is write it out.
Yeah.
So 1 RS is congruent to KL, and I'm just going to write them all as 1. ST is congruent to JK, and RT is congruent to JL. And these are all given. And then you can write side, side, side if you want. And then 2, we're just going to go straight to what they want us to prove. We're going to say that that triangle is congruent to this triangle. And the reason is side, side, side. Done.
Okay.
So, yeah. Easy?
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right, let's try this next one. So again, let's come up with a plan. Let's come up with a plan. It looks like you already wrote out this one a little bit. J or XM bisects YXZ, YXZ. So if it bisects that, you know that angles 1 and 2 are equal to each other. That's what bisects means, right?
Yes.
And they also told us that XY is congruent to XZ. So I have an angle. I see that I'm going to have an angle and I'm going to have a side. What else do I need?
Another, wait.
So I can't use side, 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 right? Because, well, I mean, I could, but I don't have three sides. I have one side and one angle. So it's going to be one of these three. Which one am I going to use? Am I going to find another angle, or am I going to find another side that's equal or congruent?
Another side?
Yep. Why? Why do you know it's going to be another side?
Because
Which side do you see is equal?
X and Y and X and Z.
X and Y. Okay, well, that was given, but what other side do we see? Do we know that these sides are equal right here? Do we know that?
No.
No. How about this? Do we know that this side is equal to something else?
Oh, okay.
What is that equal to?
XM.
That's equal to itself, right?
Yeah.
Do you see how that line is in both triangles?
Yeah.
So if you have the same line or the same angle that's in both triangles, you can use it and call it the reflexive property. So we'll have a side, we'll have an angle, and we'll have a side. Side, angle, side. Do you see our game plan? Yes? Do you see what we're going to do? Do you understand what I just?
Can you do that one more time?
We have a side that's equal. We have angles that we're going to prove are equal, and then we have another side that's equal to itself. So we will have a side, angle, side.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to use, side, angle, side.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's start writing it. What's our first side that we're going to use?
Are we doing the given?
Yep.
Okay.
But you don't have, let's not do both of the givens necessarily. Let's remember, we're going to do side, angle, side. That's our plan. We're going to do side, angle, side. So what's our first side that we can say are equal?
XZ.
XZ. Okay, and what?
XY.
Good. They wrote it. Look how they wrote it in the given. They wrote XY is congruent to XZ. So I'll write it like they did.
Oh, okay.
XY is congruent to XZ. And why is that? Why do I know that's true? What's the reason for that?
It's given.
Good. So that's given. Okay. Now we're going to find what? Now we're going to show what?
The angle.
And
So would it be like angle 1 is like equal to angle 2?
yes, but they didn't really remember, they didn't write angle 1 and 2 in there, or did they? You wrote it in. So you shouldn't call it angle 1 and 2. You should call it with the letters. So how would I call angle 1 with these three letters? How would I write it?
XYM.
No, XYM would be going this way. That would be that angle. Remember, you got the middle angle. The middle has to be X. So it's got to be YXM.
Oh, okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
If you write it in a different way, it's a different angle.
Okay.
You understand what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So tell me what that's congruent to. Name it for me.
Would it be then MXZ?
Good. Or you could start with Z. Doesn't matter. ZXM. Since I started with Y, let's start with Z.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter, but it's good to kind of do them the same way, because sometimes it matters. In this case, it doesn't, but sometimes it does.
Okay.
Okay, and what's the reason for that? How do I know that those two angles are equal?
Is it
What told you that, or how did you come up with that? Because you were right. If you did that, you were right. You had that at the beginning. You said that was true. But why do you know that those two angles are equal to each other? The ones you labeled angle 1 and angle 2. How do you know those are equal to each other?
because it's like it's bisecting, it's like a bisector.
And so that what we do is we write definition of bisect.
Okay, yeah.
So definition of bisect. That's the reason that those are congruent.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And what's the third thing we're going to find?
The other side.
Which is?
Would it be x, y, or would it be
Well, we already wrote x, y down. So what's the third side that we said we were going to use? So the first side, remember, was this one. XZ, that was the first side. Then we went angle, this angle and this angle.
Oh, do you do xm is congruent?
Yeah. Do you see how I thought, you see how I look back at the shape to see what I'm doing? Side, angle, side. So what do I write? XM?
Is congruent to xm.
Perfect. And notice how I'm writing with the line over the top, right? That
Yeah.
just says line segment. Good. And what's the reason for that?
The SAS.
No, what's the reason that XM is equal to XM? What's that property called?
Bisect.
No, XM equals XM. Why do you know that XM is equal to XM? Look at the last one we did. Why did I know that? I'm sorry, not the last one, the first one that I did. How did I know that BD was equal to BD?
Oh, the reflective property.
Yeah, reflexive property. So I'm just going to write reflexive. You can talk to your teacher about if you have to write property, the word property or not. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's okay just to kind of abbreviate and stuff like that. But that's the reflexive property.
Okay.
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 It looks like I've got someone someone who's following me in the chat. Is that my son, Aiden? I don't know if that's my son or if that's someone else. Aiden, who is that? Who are you? You're the first one ever to follow one of my YouTube lives and to chat with me. Welcome. And he said reflexive, and he was right. So now what do I do? What's the next step? What's number 4?
Do you write down like the angle XYM thing?
Not angle. Triangle.
Triangle is congruent to triangle XZM.
And why?
Because of the SAS.
SAS. Perfect. There you go. And you're done. Okay. You see how we did that?
Yeah.
Proofs. You have to just make sure that the proof is actually, it is what you say that it is. It's doing what you say that it's doing. So let's try this next one. It said, given those sides, prove those triangles. So what do I have? Let's look and let's analyze this. What do I have? What are they telling us? Oh, this is not my son, Aiden. Well, you spell your name the same way, Aiden. Welcome. Welcome, Aiden. Glad you can be here. All right, so given AB and CD are congruent, so here I have A and AB is congruent to CB, and they also told us that BE is congruent to BD.
Right.
And they want us to prove that those two triangles are congruent. So what do I need? I have a side and I have another side. What do I need? What are my other options? I could either do side, side, side. Oh, sorry. I could do side, 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 or I could do side, angle, side, or I could do, that's it, right? Those are the only ones that have two sides, aren't they? Let's
Yeah.
look at those are the only ones that have two sides, either side, 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 or side, angle, side. So what am I going to do? Am I going to use this side equals this side? Can I prove that? Can I see that? Can I show that's true? Or am I going to use one of these angles, like this angle is equal to this angle, or maybe this angle is equal to this angle, or this angle? Which one am I going to use? Can you see? Can you tell?
Would you use SSS?
Well, if you're going to use SSS, you're going to have to show me why do you think these two sides are equal to each other? What makes you feel that way? You're going to have to prove that somehow. You're going to have to use some sort of property or something to show that. Do you have a property like that?
No.
I can't think of one. So let's try an angle maybe.
Okay.
Think about what angles, are there any properties that you know that talk about what angles are equal to each other?
Definition of bisector, that one?
Well, no one said anything about bisecting. So no, we don't know that. Can you think of anything? So one of the reasons why this is hard for you right now is because you haven't done very much. You haven't done this very much. So you really don't know. Kind of like the more you play a game, the better you get at it because you've seen different situations and you've learned how to try different tricks and apply different rules and all that kind of stuff. So you haven't seen it, but if anyone that's seen this and has done this before, they almost immediately will recognize that this angle right here is congruent to this angle right here. And that's because these are called vertical angles. That angle and that angle. Anytime you have two lines that intersect, the angles that are vertical or across from each other are always congruent to each other.
Okay.
So those angles are congruent to each other, and these angles here are congruent to each other. Those are called vertical angles. And what you say is vertical angles are congruent. That's the property.
Okay.
Vertical angles are congruent. So that's really all we need, isn't it? We can write our proof up. Let's see if we can fit this up above here. So what's the first thing I'm going to say?
AB is congruent to CB.
AB is congruent to CB. And what's the reason for that?
Given.
Good. And is that a side or an angle?
It's a side.
Good. So let's write S. You like how I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next thing I'm going to do?
BE is congruent to BD.
No, I don't want to do that yet. Do you know why? Because I'm going to use side, angle, side, right?
Oh, so would you do? Oh, okay.
So you can write that for 3, but remember that's not 2, that's 3. If we're trying to be kind of more judicious about what we write, more careful about how we write it. So this 3 is also given, and that's on my other side. So I've got side, I've got the two sides, but what was in the middle? I had an angle, right?
Yeah.
And so what did I say about, I said that, can you name these angles for me? What's this angle right here? How would I name that? Don't say B. You have to use 3 letters to name it.
Wait, like the SAS?
No, you have to use 3 letters to name that angle. How would you name this angle right here? You can't just say B, because B can be this angle or this angle or this angle. You don't know what B is. How would I name this angle?
Oh, ABE?
That's right. Good. Angle ABE is congruent to what?
CBD.
Good. C. Good job. And I like how you said C first, even though you could have said D first, because you use this one next. You use the one across from the single tick mark.
Yeah.
That's a good strategy. That's a good practice to get into. In fact, you have to do that when you name your triangle. You have to name the A corresponds to the C, the B corresponds to the B, and the E corresponds to the D. You have to be careful when you're naming the triangle. You didn't really have to be too careful when you're naming this angle, because this angle is the same as this angle. Whether you name it from DBC or CBD, they're the same angle, but it's good to practice naming them for the letters that correspond to each other. So A corresponds to C and E corresponds to D. And what was the reason for this? Remember what the reason was?
The definition of
Look at what I wrote below.
definition of vertical.
Literally, you write exactly what I wrote right here.
Oh.
Vertical angles are congruent.
Oh, okay.
Vertical angles are congruent. The more you do this, the more your teacher will be okay for you just to write the word vertical angles. And they understand that vertical angles are congruent. And so what's the 4th step I'm going to write now? Do I have pretty much everything I need?
Yeah, I guess.
I do.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just write what they wanted me to prove, which is what?
A triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CBD, which is then SAS.
Perfect. That's it. That's all there is to it. So let me just talk through, since our time's up, let me just talk through the strategy on these last 2.
Okay.
And I'll let you do this before we meet tomorrow. Okay? And I'll check it for you. So this first one, the strategy is going to be, well, notice I'm given, oh wait, is this the same one we just did?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, these look like the same ones. Yep, these are the same ones we just did. So instead, I'll say you find some more problems.
Okay.
And whatever your teachers assigned you, or maybe find similar ones. They're all over the place. You can find them everywhere. And then just practice them, and I'll check them to make sure you're doing them right, and help you further with it when you need help.
Okay, perfect.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, great to have you here, Aiden. You're the first one ever to watch one of my live YouTube lives from my tutoring. Good luck with your own tutoring, Aiden. I hope you do well with that. Anyone else that's out there watching this video, either live or recorded, come on for help if you ever need to. Free help for just jump in and watch when you see me going live, or if you want to have your own one-on-one session with the world watching, you can sign up at 204tutor.com. And I will see you tomorrow, Katie.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.